I'm Vanessa Tyler. Welcome to the new season of What's Eating Harlem, where we cover the most exciting community in the world. There is so much going on here in Harlem. Let's get started.
I believe in Harlem.
So much so, this chef opened 2 spots here.
I like to use French techniques.
Calling all the hip people, Phil Young is in the house. We have the coolest place to be on a Thursday night in Harlem.
This is my grandfather's apartment.
Come inside the world of the Sandman, Apollo's executioner, as his family tells his story and keeps his legacy alive. All of that and more on this episode of What's Eating Harlem. Kfie Ben-Avi moves about in his Harlem kitchen. No question, this is what he was made to do.
I was born a chef. I was born a cook. So I was working, that's my whole career is restaurants.
This restaurant, RDV-Rendezvous Harlem, located at 2072 Frederick Douglass Boulevard on 112th and 8th, is where he puts his passion in those pans.
I do have an accent. Just like when I speak, I do have an accent in my cooking. So I like to use a little za'atar and sumac and other spices.
His accent, most likely a blend. Born in Israel, but getting his cooking chops in France. His international training has placed him in the kitchens of the masters.
First of all was Paul Bocuse in Lyon. The guy is super talented. He invented the Nouvelle Cuisine with another chefs there.
Then Kfie comes to America and works with a legend.
I was working then here in New York for Daniel Boulud in Restaurant Daniel. Over there, it's like the NBA of the cook. It's amazing. I learned from everyone, and it was a great experience.
Kfie ran a few spots featuring the in crowd, an Asian French fusion place in Brooklyn, then a restaurant in the meatpacking district of Manhattan. But those places pale in comparison when he thinks of Harlem.
I love the people. I feel very connected to the community here. My family, they are here with me. They love it here, and I decided to dedicate everything I have into this neighborhood, into Harlem, and to boost it and to give my part to the community.
First, he opened Kfie, a small coffee and French pastry shop, which is right down the street from Rendezvous.
Rendezvous is a modern French bistro. We are focusing in the French Mediterranean, southeast of France, where we have a lot of olive oil and fresh herb. We have a little bit of spices, and Mediterranean is comfortable for me to cook since I grew up on the Mediterranean on the other side in Israel.
This night, Kfie whipped up a variety of dishes, some new to Harlem, like this puff pastry. Eat it as an appetizer or a dessert.
Beet tartatan. Tartatan is a classic dessert made of apples. I'm using it with beets and goat cheese mix puff pastry. Everything is in layers. Then I will be doing the loup de mer, which is branzino.
The branzino is served with asparagus. And that's duck, classic French dish.
I'm going to be cooking the duck magret, which is the duck breast. Also, I will do the quinoa cannellini, which is a nice quinoa and cucumber dish. I'm really focusing on vegetables. I'm sourcing my proteins. Everything is local and is the highest quality I can find. By the same time, I'm really focusing on the produce, and I'm sourcing everything locally as much as possible.
Rendezvous didn't forget the signature cocktails. There is a mixologist on staff, and if you want wine, besides being the chef, Kfie is also a sommelier. For Kfie, after cooking in cuisine hotspots around the world, Harlem is where he wants to serve.
I realized my dream in my neighborhood, which is the biggest thing I could do.
The reason we do the Black Chef Series is because, you know, we want to promote African American chefs. We want to celebrate African American chefs because, quite honestly, we don't feel like that platform really exists.
As we've gone along, more people have heard about what we're doing and sort of the political twist that we have on this, as well as just the fact that we're here to be of service and raise money for a handful of different really nice charities.
The sound so sweet, keeping the band in time and on point. Legendary drummer Phil Young. Please, you've got to give the drummer some. This cool cat who turns it out every Thursday at Lenox Sapphire at 341 Malcolm X Boulevard has a musical resume that will blow your mind.
Well, I started here in New York City at the Apollo Theater. I was doing the amateur show at the Apollo Theater, and Bobby Blue Bland heard me play.
Shit, I'm right back where I really love always been.
And he offered me a job, and that's how it started. And from there, it went to the Temptations.
It was the 3rd of September. That day I'll always remember.
Earl Father Hines, Mary Lou Williams, Maxine Sullivan, Dizzy Gillespie. Just so many of them. The Platters, the Drifters, just on and on and on.
But he hit the big time when?
I haven't heard or played with another tenor player that has impressed me, moved me like Stanley.
The sweet sax of Stanley Turrentine. Phil Young got the gig of a lifetime playing and touring the world with Stanley Turrentine.
Stanley and I, we didn't hit it off right away, you know, because he was a tough taskmaster kind of guy, you know, and I think we got close or tight with each other when we realized that we were cut from the same cloth somewhat, you know, and one gig turned into 5 years of working with Stanley. And it was a really wonderful time. This cat could play.
Phil Young is a product of Harlem. Many longtimers know his family, perhaps in particular his beloved grandfather.
My grandfather was bigger than life as far as I was concerned. He was the man. Everybody knew him here in Harlem, Carolina Flower Shop.
Remember the Carolina Flower Shop in Harlem? Phil says it was another casualty of 9/11. When the towers went down, they lost their corporate accounts and could not survive. Still, he says, his grandfather gave him those life lessons that shaped his early years.
If you want to do something in life, you have to be tenacious. You have to work at it. And that's something I learned from him. I watched him get up every single morning, 7 days a week, 4 o'clock in the morning, go to the flower market, buy flowers, get up to the shop and had the doors open by 6 a.m. every single day. That was commitment. That told me that if you want to be something in life, you have to work at it.
Well, he worked at it. His grandfather bought him drums, and at 16, he was a pro. Phil says growing up in Harlem was interesting back then. You think it's diverse now? Back then, first-generation immigrants made Harlem home.
I experienced Harlem in a way that a lot of people don't know Harlem or never knew Harlem. The community was multicultural. On the corner, there was a grocery store owned by a gentleman, we call him Teddy, he was Greek. Next door to him was a Japanese restaurant. Next door to that was Carolina Flowers. Next door to that was a fish market owned by an Italian. A couple doors down, because there was a building there, and then next to that was a woman from the West Indies, Miss Kalimo. And then next to that was Izzy, which was a Jewish cat who had a meat market.
His Harlem was also full of iconic black leaders, black life, and black jazz.
Harlem was a place where you were exposed to art and culture. You got a chance to meet and experience people who were socially conscious. They wanted something good for this community. You had people from, like a Malcolm X, who cared, Adam Clayton Powell, who cared, even Charlie Rangel, who cared.
This is the roots of Old Harlem and how the people who came up north survived.
They came looking for something better. They left the South, they left wherever they were to come here to be better, to make something out of life, to make a better life for their children. And I'm an offspring of that. I'm a product of that, you know? So I think that's what made Harlem what it is, and that's what makes Harlem what it is today.
In today's Harlem, Phil Young is back on the scene, packing the house at Lenox Sapphire on Thursday nights for only the cool people.
That turned into 3 years of residency here. I'm here every Thursday from 7 to 11 doing music with some talented, great guys.
Calls the gathering Harlem hip and asks the quintessential question.
How do I know you're hip? Is because you wouldn't be here if you weren't. And so what we do is we play a certain kind of jazz that attracts all types of people.
It's American music that he has ensured is passed down.
I formed this school program. I felt that the Board of Education was not taking care of our kids with music and art. They were cutting so many programs. It's just so many artists who I said, look, guys, let's give these kids what they need. And we went into the schools and we started to teach work with these kids, free of charge.
Remember, Thursday nights, be here or be square. How do you know if you're hip?
Because if you weren't, you wouldn't be here. All right.
back in the day when tap was on top, no one did it like the Sandman, smooth, on a box sprinkled with sand to enhance the sound of his fancy footwork. Howard Sandman Sims, the consummate entertainer, his beginnings in the days of vaudeville, and one of the early executioners at Apollo's amateur nights. Wearing his zany outfits, he would escort an act off stage.
This is an elevator now, but this wasn't here when my dad was here doing the execution. And he would basically sit here, and all of his change of stuff, his wardrobe and everything would be here as props, and they would have a little partition, you know, so that he could kind of do a quick change.
One time, the change was too quick. The act was so bad.
My dad had just finished taking someone off, and he thought he was going to have time, that the next act perhaps would have been a decent act and made it through. Well, he was in between changes, and the act got blown off so fast that he actually went out in his underwears, and he just threw a hat on, but he actually went out with the underwears on because he didn't have time to put the pants on. But people didn't know the difference. They thought it was hilarious.
Of course, the Apollo crowd who filled the seats of this iconic theater loved it. It's stories like that one, Howard Sims Jr., and his daughter, the Sandman's teenage granddaughter, Tatiana Sims, are keeping alive.
This is your grandfather's apartment.
This is my grandfather's apartment.
This is the Harlem apartment where the Sandman and Solange, his wife of more than 40 years, raised their son, Howard Jr. Now, Tatiana has grabbed the torch to preserve the legacy, tell the story. It's a Harlem story with legends of a time gone by.
All people that lived in Harlem, worked in Harlem, anybody that touched Harlem, especially in the African-American community, definitely is in this book. And I think he's touched all of those people, whether it be working with them or having personal, friendships with them.
The book, tattered, some of the pages torn, is the scrapbook the Sandman lovingly kept through the decades. Everybody, I mean everybody during his era, is in here.
Oh my God, this is Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes, Sammy Davis, yeah. And this is him here again.
Cap Calloway, wow. Was that a friend as well?
That was a friend as well. When James Brown was just, an amateur. And my father was, coasting on stage. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
He came to the theater to perform and actually didn't have shoes to go on stage to perform. And my father gave him shoes so he can go out on the stage and perform.
The place is like a museum, preserving history.
I'm doing a documentary piece later on in my career. I do want to make a feature film about my grandfather. But I feel that he has a tremendous story that needs to be told. And I'm so happy that, with my father's help, that I get to carry that torch and tell his legacy to the fullest.
The Sandman lived in this apartment until he died in 2003 at age 86. It's where he hosted the celebrities of the day.
It's very moving for me every time I open this book and I look at those pictures. I feel that connection with him.
Is proud to present It's Showtime at the Apollo.
The world connected with him on this stage. For 50 years, the Sandman brought so much joy and laughter to the demanding Apollo audience. When the act was good, it was great, but the booze brought out the Sandman. Oddly, the role was very misunderstood. Instead of executioner, he was actually an encourager.
When he got people off, he would always make it a thing to tell them don't stop, encourage them, keep going, perfect what you're trying to do. If you love this, keep pursuing it.
The Sandman started as a boxer. He traveled the world with legendary Archie Moore. Boxing is perhaps why the Sandman moved his feet so well.
People would prefer to see him dance around in the sand, the sand that...
The rosin box.
The rosin box. Than actually in the ring. So that's where he kind of came up with the idea of dancing in the sand. So after that, he started bottling sand from California and dancing with it on a board that he made, he engineered. And that's kind of how his story was born.
It was always amazing to watch, him come in and tap. And then, really, people watched him, but they looked at the fact that, when a Sandman comes out, you want to leave. You're about to leave.
J. Alexander Martin is the president of Fubu TV and is interested in seeing the Sandman's documentary come to life.
History is about, is exactly what we try to, portray or put out in Fubu TV. Our acronym was For Us By Us, so this fits right into that realm.
The history of the Sandman is also the history of tap and what it meant to Harlem. In his later years, the Sandman made it his mission to teach Harlem children.
I think that, unfortunately, yes, tap is not as much as a popular art as it was in prior years. I think because back in the day it was more celebrated and there was an opportunity for African American performers to have a camaraderie.
It wasn't unusual back in the early years to see street challenges in Harlem. He was so good he actually won amateur night 25 times, forcing the Apollo to change the rules and limit the number of wins. The stories growing up with the Sandman as your father.
Red Fox came to the house, and I remember asking him, Mr. Fox, can you do the Elizabeth thing for me? Oh, Elizabeth, I'm coming to you, and I was hysterical.
I'm dying. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey. Oh.
The icons, the history, the stage where dreams are made and legends are born.
It's magically connecting every time that I'm in this building. I feel him here. I know he's here.
That's all the time we have for now, but join us next time on What's Eating Harlem. I'm Vanessa Tyler. See you uptown.
Yeah. Me and you taking flight on this electric ride. World sees us tonight. We're lightning bolts in the sky. Flashing with thunder. And it's beautiful all over, yeah. Let me feel vibrations going through my system. Send shockwaves to me.